Before we talk about the night Maya Millete disappeared, I need to tell you what was on her husband's computer. Emails to spellcasters, asking them to stop his wife from leaving him. Spells that, over the weeks before she vanished, became more controlling, more violent, more specific, and deeper in that same search history. Attempts to hire a hitman. His wife called a divorce attorney at 5:48 p.m. on January 7, 2021. Her phone went dead at 1:25 a.m. She was never seen again. Her body has never been found. And the man whose computer contained those searches is currently sitting in a courtroom in California, telling a jury he had nothing to do with it. This is the Larry Millete trial, Chula Vista, a city of nearly 300,000 people just south of San Diego, a place where Filipino-American families have built deep roots, tight-knit communities, close extended families, the kind of neighborhood where cousins grow up together and everyone shows up for birthdays. Suburban Chula Vista Street. Larry and Maya Millete were part of that community. Larry, 40 years old at the time of Maya's disappearance. Maya, married. 3 children together, a family that from the outside looked whole. Maya worked at the Southwest Regional Maintenance Center, a Navy facility in San Diego. She was described by everyone who knew her as warm, vivacious, fiercely devoted to her children. Her family called her the glue, the one who held everyone together. But behind closed doors, the marriage had been fracturing for years. In May 2020, 8 months before she disappeared, Maya moved out of the family home. She went to stay with her brother JR and his wife Genesis. She needed space, she told them. She needed to breathe, she needed to think. What she was thinking about was how to leave Larry Millete for good. And Larry Millete knew it. He knew she was pulling away. He knew she had spoken to a divorce attorney. He knew because he had been reading her text messages, tracking her movements, logging her lunches, nodding every time she went to Walmart, every time she met a friend and didn't tell him. Every time her phone showed her somewhere he hadn't approved. Investigators found that log on his MacBook, a detailed, handwritten style digital record of his wife's movements, kept by a man who told everyone around him he just wanted his family back. And then there was the other thing investigators found, the thing that made even veteran detectives pause, the emails to spellcasters. At some point in 2020, as Maya was pulling further and further away, Larry Millete turned to the internet. Not for a marriage counselor, not for a therapist, not for a lawyer. He searched for spellcasters, people who, for a fee, claimed to be able to cast spells, to bring back a lost lover, to bind a partner to you, to stop someone from leaving. He didn't send one email. He sent multiple, over weeks, over months. And Detective Lorenzo Ruiz, who testified on day 6 of the trial, described what happened to those spells over time. They escalated. Early on, the spells were about love, about reconciliation, about keeping Maya close. But as the months passed, and Maya continued to pull away, the nature of what Larry Millete was requesting from these online spellcasters changed. The spells became more controlling, more aggressive, more about domination than love. Prosecutors used the spellcaster emails to paint a picture of a man who was escalating, not just in his behavior, but in his thinking. A man who had moved from, "I want her back," to something much darker. And the spellcasters were not the most disturbing thing. On Larry Millete's computer, also found in his search history, searches related to hearing a hitman. Let me be precise about what investigators testified. They found what prosecutors described as an attempted murder-for-hire search, evidence that Larry Millete had at some point looked into having someone else do what he may have later decided to do himself. The defense pushed back on this. They argued the investigation was flawed, that detectives had tunnel vision, that the evidence was being misread. But the jury heard it, and the jury is still hearing it. Right now, in a San Diego courtroom, January 2020, a full year before she disappeared, Maya Millete bought herself a Jeep. A new Jeep, her Jeep, something she had chosen for herself because she had plans, outdoor adventures, new experiences, a life she was building in her own terms. The prosecution opened this trial with that Jeep because it represented something essential about Maya Millete. She was not a passive woman. She was not waiting to be rescued. She was actively constructing a future without Larry. By the end of 2020, she had moved back into the family home, not because things had improved, but because of the children, because she wanted to manage the separation carefully, because she was building towards something legal and documented. On January 7, 2021, she called a divorce attorney. That call is now exhibit evidence in a murder trial. Maya's sister Maricris, who testified in court, told the jury that Maya would never have voluntarily disappeared. This was a woman who had travel plans, a woman who had birthday celebrations scheduled for her daughter just the following day, January 8th. She had plans to take the children to Big Bear. She had been looking forward to it. She was last captured on surveillance camera, entering her own home at 4:43 in the afternoon. On January 7, 2021, no camera, not one single camera, from any of the neighbors' systems, captured her leaving. She went in. She never came out. And her husband, Larry, who prosecutors say was inside that house with her, has claimed innocence from the moment investigators arrived. Let's talk about what happened in the hours and days after Maya vanished. January 7, 2021, evening, the Millete home in Chula Vista. At some point that evening, a neighbor's surveillance camera captured audio of several loud bangs coming from the direction of the Millete home. The investigating detective testified that they were never able to determine exactly what those bangs were, but the jury heard them in open court, played through the courtroom speakers. A child's voice was also captured on that footage. When it was played in court, observers reported murmuring in the gallery, a quiet collective recognition of the three children at the center of this case. At 5:48 p.m., Maya made her last known phone call. The divorce attorney. At 1:25 a.m., her phone signal terminated completely. A cell phone expert testified for 7 hours about what that termination means and what it doesn't mean. He said there is no way to know whether the phone was switched off, ran out of battery, was put in airplane mode, or was destroyed. What he said with certainty was this: there is no evidence Maya Millete ever left that house. The next morning, Larry Millete's phone was switched off. It stayed off for nearly 12 hours. During those 12 hours, his car traveled 400 to 600 miles. He later claimed he had been at the beach with one of his children. Investigators checked. They checked border crossings. They checked Uber records. They checked surveillance cameras. They checked every checkpoint they could find. There is no evidence Maya Millete crossed any border. There is no evidence she took any transport. There is no evidence she went anywhere. When family members came to the house, Larry opened the door. He appeared calm. He appeared, in the words of one officer, stoic, very matter-of-fact. He suggested maybe Maya had gone hiking. He told her brother not to worry. He said, "I will always take care of her." 3 days after Maya disappeared, On January 10th, police searched the family vehicles. Maya's Jeep, the one she had bought for herself, for her adventures, for her new life, contained a bag in the backseat. Inside that bag, a hatchet, a hammer, a mallet, a knife, gloves, duct tape. In court, it was noted these could be tools for off-roading. Larry's Lexus was different. The officer who searched it testified that for a family car, a car belonging to a household with 3 young children, it was exceptionally clean. No dust on the floorboards, no dirt, exceptionally clean. A substance found in the trunk initially appeared to be blood. Further testing showed it was not consistent with a crime scene. But the car had been cleaned recently, thoroughly. 4 months after Maya disappeared, neighbors' surveillance cameras captured something else. A fire in the Millete backyard. Investigators searched the ashes, and they found something. Maya Millete's credit card, burnt in the remains of a backyard fire set by her husband 4 months after she vanished. And then there was the daughter's phone. Text messages read in court revealed that Larry Millete had been placing his daughter's phone inside Maya's car to track her, to know where she was going, to monitor her movements, using their own child's device as a surveillance tool against their mother. Larry Millete took unplanned time off from work the day after prosecutors say Maya was killed. His boss testified that some of his time card entries from those days were inaccurate. None of this is direct evidence of murder. There is no body. There is no confirmed crime scene. There is no murder weapon. This is entirely a circumstantial case, and the defense knows it. Larry Millete has pleaded not guilty. He has maintained his innocence. From the day Maya disappeared to the day this trial began, his defense attorneys have built their case around one central argument. There is no evidence a murder even occurred. No body, no blood at the crime scene, no weapon, no witness. They pointed out that Larry Millete cooperated fully with investigators from day one. He allowed them into the house. He allowed them to search the vehicles. He consented to being photographed at a time when he wasn't even named a suspect. The defense also introduced another name, Jamie Laird. Maya Millete had been having an affair with a coworker, Jamie Laird, in the period before her disappearance. The defense argued that Laird was not properly investigated, that he had his own reasons to be concerned about exposure, that the investigation had been conducted with tunnel vision, focused entirely on Larry. From the very beginning, the judge has largely restricted how far the defense can take this argument. He ruled against third-party culpability claims, but the defense has planted the seed. And in a nobody case built entirely on circumstantial evidence, a seed of doubt is all they need. The trial is expected to last as long as 3 months. It began May 11, 2026. As of this video, it is still going. New testimony, new evidence, new developments every single day. We do not yet know what the jury will decide, but we know what the evidence says. And we know what a burnt credit card in a backyard fire for months after a woman vanished suggests. We know what an exceptionally clean car belonging to a family with 3 young children at least. And we know that Maya Millete's phone went dead at 1:25 in the morning, and she was never seen again. Maya Millete's 3 children are now in the custody of her sister Maricris. They were placed there in August 2024, after being initially placed with Larry's parents following his arrest. They have grown up without their mother. The youngest was just a small child when Maya disappeared in January 2021. Maya's family has waited 5 years. 5 years of not knowing where she is. 5 years of birthdays without her. 5 years of school plays and holidays, and Milestonesh was not there to see. Her sister Maricris testified in this trial. She told the jury something simple, something that the prosecution built its entire case around. She said Maya would never have left voluntarily. Not without telling her family. Not without saying goodbye to her children. Not without a trace. A woman who called a divorce a torneth day she disappeared was not running away from her life. She was fighting for it. Her body has still not been found. That means that even if Larry Millete is convicted of her murder, her family may never have a grave to visit, may never have a place to stand and say goodbye, may never have the full answer to the question they have been asking since January 8th, 2021, where is Maya? That question is still open. It may always be open. Maya Millete was 39 years old. She had a new Jeep and a plan for outdoor adventures. She had 3 children who needed her. She had a sister who described her as the glue that held the family together. She had a divorce attorney's number saved in her phone. She made that call. She went home. Her phone went dead at 1:25 in the morning. She was never seen again. The trial of Larry Millete is happening right now in a courtroom in Chula Vista, California. New testimony is being heard every week. I will be following this case closely. If you want to know the moment a verdict comes in, subscribe and hit the bell, because when that jury decides, I will have the full breakdown within 24 hours. And drop a comment below, because I need to know. Do you think this is enough evidence to convict? Or does the lack of a body mean he walks free?